And tell you what, the Toyota section of the like all the midway stuff is always so good. They always got something going on.
I wish I got to experience that.
Well, that stinks.
Yeah. They don't set up at Indy, and they don't set up at Michigan.
That's hilarious.
Couldn't tell. I kind of understand Michigan. I don't know why they don't set up at Indy.
That is yeah.
You know, like Michigan makes sense because like Ford and Chevy are both there.
Yeah, kind of like their thing.
Yeah. But.
What a weekend.
What a weekend.
I was gone.
What a Tuesday.
I was gone up until what a Tuesday is right. I was gone up until most of Tuesday. So that's why we're doing it late, but it worked out because apparently everything decided to happen this week.
Officially happened.
Right, yeah. Still, big time.
Big time.
Yeah, it's definitely a good thing we're recording this week late. Because a lot happened. And it would have been another one of those things where we like finish recording and then we put up the show and then we're like, "Dah!"
Yeah,
like
I'm sure
all the news drops.
No one is like gonna be surprised by this at this point because it's the biggest news that's happened in like a few seasons probably. But like Lauren told me about the SHR stuff in the car, and I was like, okay, is this like a rumor or is it like confirm? And she was like, the NASCAR account tweeted it. And I was like, oh, oh, okay.
Well, I mean, we've been beating around. Everyone has been beating around this bush for the last month. It feels like, right? We this was our from the shop open topic, but let's just make it our open topic because it's the biggest story right now, and rightfully so because they're. Thank you, Matt.
That was...
I was scrambling.
I wasn't ready for it. I was like, I'm just going to keep talking.
That was good.
That was me trying to figure out how to start this show off without telling you folks to make sure if you haven't already, click the like button and subscribe. And follow at Fake Racers on X. And make sure you subscribe to Track and Turf. The SHR news. It's a lot of people, right? 4 full-time Cup teams, 2 full-time Xfinity teams. The Xfinity program seems like it's in flux from the sounds of it. Don't know what exactly that means. But
we should also just outright say, because we haven't said it yet, Stewart-Haas Racing is shutting down at the end of the year.
Yep. All 4 cars going
Thank
away.
You. Captain
Xfinity
Obvious.
program going away.
Hey,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm teasing.
Somebody might be out of the loop.
Listen, would be a hell of a thing to find out on this show.
It would be really funny, though, to do an entire podcast where we don't actually say anything. We're like, yeah, you guys know, right? Yeah.
That could be the bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously they brought in 2 new drivers this offseason, right, with Josh Berry in the 4, Noah Gragson in the 10. They did a complete rebrand. They said, we are racers. Don't doubt us. Heard there was some funny things with T-shirts. But at the end of the day, this is a multi-time championship winning, 50-plus race wins, 69 wins at that.
Nice.
Cup Series team that is shutting down one of the last 4 car teams in the garage area. One of 3. Yeah, I don't know.
It's big news.
It's big news.
And I think, obviously, the first thing that can be said, and it can never be said enough, is really thinking about all the people who are scrambling to find a job for, after the season ends. Because I don't even want to say next season, because who knows if some of these guys even get jobs back in racing. So I'm thinking about all of them right now. And then, obviously, what comes with that is what's going to happen to those 4 charters. Because those are... Well, they were a hot commodity until 4 went on the market, and now they're just tanking the market by putting 4 on there. Very interesting stuff.
BJ McLeod.
Charters are probably... What's up?
BJ McLeod, Matt Tift are just, like, rubbing their hands together right now. You know, like...
Yeah. Charters are probably the cheapest they've ever been right now, at this very moment as we speak. And there's also a bunch of pretty talented drivers who are looking for a place to go next season. somewhere in the top 3 NASCAR series. There's been a lot of speculation already. I've been hearing rumors of Chase Briscoe to the 21.
Yeah.
That one seems like it makes sense. Honestly, any of those drivers could go to the 21. It would make sense.
Yeah, I think Briscoe, though, is the one that makes the most sense because of how much resources Ford has invested in him and his development, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And that's, unfortunately, that is obviously a huge upgrade over Harrison Burton, who has been struggling in the Cup Series so far in the 21, for whatever reason that may be. Briscoe, a Cup Series winner, multi-time Xfinity championship contender, and all the like, but
All that stuff.
yeah. Noah Gregson's the one that's interesting because he doesn't really have ties to manufacturers, but he's got his Bass Pro Shops sponsorship that goes with him. So that could help fill some empty space.
He probably has the most question marks around where he's going to end up because he has funding, and that opens up the most doors, obviously.
Mm-hmm. And then Josh Berry is kind of rumored to be, let's say, staying with, in air quotes, his charter, I guess, maybe, right? If you want to look at it like that. A lot of rumblings.
Going to front row?
He would be, in one of the front row cars.
That's what it seems like.
Which I think that would be a good move because obviously they have sponsorship with their with the 34 car.
Yep, that's right.
Don't think Loves is going to leave front row. But,
yeah.
It slots in nicely as a replacement to McDowell as well, even if that's the way it ends up going. So,
wow.
But yeah.
And then Ryan Preece is kind of like he was at the simulator testing. He is seems like he might be left at the altar. Yeah.
Well, hey, he's like generationally fast in everything except whatever the current Cup car is. So I'm sure he'll find somewhere in Xfinity or trucks and light it up there and get back to Cup and do nothing again, unfortunately.
Yeah.
As a Ryan Preece fan.
The rumors, obviously, Front Row today announced that they are acquiring a third charter. They didn't say where it's coming from. We know where it's coming from. User inference skills from grade school. The other rumor is obviously Trackhouse needs a charter, if not 2, because the plan is for, Zane needs a Cup ride, even though that it has not gone well so far this year for him. And then SVG also needs a Cup ride from the sounds of what their plan for him is.
Mm-hmm.
So that seems like Trackhouse is going to inline for one of those charters. If not, maybe they make a push for 2 somewhere else. And then 2311, Denny Hamlin has been very vocal about 3 being the number of cars that you want on a team. That's like the right mix. So 2311 seems to be the leading candidate for a third of the 4 charters. That 4th charter is up in the air. I don't know who would make sense for it. I don't know if you guys have thoughts on that. I know this is very cool to talk about, but
the only other one that makes sense, and I haven't seen anybody mention it, is a third RCR charter. Because I don't know what their plan is. Because I don't, we all joke about Austin Dillon's gonna retire, but I feel like Austin Dillon's one of those guys that as long as he wants to drive, he's gonna be there. And if the vibes don't continue to deteriorate, Kyle Busch is going to be there. And Austin Hill is their guy. Yeah. They're going to need a Cup car for him eventually.
Yeah. Because let's face it, Austin Hill isn't that. He's Cup material.
Yeah.
As much of an idiot as he is.
Yeah. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah, so I would say that would be my bet if Trackhouse can't get 2 of the Stewart-Haas charters. I would think RCR is going to put in a play to get that 4th one.
Mm.
So, because I don't know how much longer they're willing to keep Austin Hill in an Xfinity car. So,
I don't think they can afford to keep him in an Xfinity car any longer. No. I don't think he can afford it.
I will say, I have also seen a lot of the typical sources in the garage area indicate that there are some surprise folks looking at the acquisition of a charter. I really don't think there's going to be a surprise acquisition unless it's a new team. So something to keep your eye out for. Maybe don't hold your breath, but keep your eye out for it.
Junior.
I've heard Junior actually isn't interested, but
no, I know it's too expensive for him.
Andretti.
And that, well, but okay, so that's the thing. If you want to say Andretti, all these signs have kind of pointed towards Andretti's involved with Spire somehow.
Yeah.
So, is Spire going to be a Ford charter team?
No,
I don't think
maybe
that's
not.
wise. I don't think there is an ownership group out there that could be where SHR is right now and make an improvement on the field. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't see an Xfinity team that could come up to Cup outside of JRM that would make sense to the Cup Series right now. So, the other players, of course, are RFK. I think Brad's also been vocal about 3 kind of maybe being that number that you want to be at.
Yeah.
And Legacy Motor Club, right? Because Toyota, that would help Toyota get to, what would that get Toyota to? 10?
Yeah.
So maybe that's a magic number for the manufacturer. So that's kind of what you're looking at, I guess, in terms of those drivers and where drivers fall. Toyota obviously has a backlog of development drivers right now, too.
What's new?
Well, yeah, exactly. What's new is young again. Or what's old is new again.
Also, can we point out how even more dead the Ford pipeline is now?
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
That's the other rumor is Cole Custer to the third front row car as part of all of this.
No.
Yeah.
Maybe. He's probably deserving of another shot, right?
I would say so.
I could see that.
He won a championship and is a contender every week.
Won a lot of races.
It's almost like maybe putting him down there was a good thing, but maybe you didn't need to. I don't know.
I think one of the things that's been like most surprising about this is like obviously like the writing's been on the wall a little bit, or maybe not on the wall, but there's been a lot of people saying this, and the team their merch department can say whatever they want about it, but like there's serious problems with this organization. And the thing that was really eye-opening was last week when Kevin Harvick was subbing for Kyle Larson, and he made the comment about how it's nice seeing his team owner at the track every week.
Yep.
Driving for Hendrick for 1 week, and then you have his comments on his podcast about this week of how quickly things fell apart. You had the Ryan Preece call out of Chad Johnston on the radio during the Coke 600. I don't know if you saw that, Davey.
I didn't.
I'll go back and I'll find it for you. I'll transcribe it for you, but it was very eye-opening. And it's just kind of like, it's always surprising to see something like this, but at the same time, like everybody's been, like, people were talking about this for a reason.
Yeah.
These rumors don't come from nowhere.
And if ownership at this team is very weird, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Gene Haas has obviously had his F1 team for a while now, and it seems like I forget who said it. Might have been. I don't think it was Kevin on his show. Someone had said, "Would you rather lose in F1 or would you rather lose in NASCAR?" What would you rather lose in? I think we know Gene Haas's answer.
Mm-hmm.
So, there were reports that Tony was pretty emotional when they made the announcement to the team yesterday. Again, don't know. I don't think it really matters to everyone that's looking for new work in 2025.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very frustrating too, right? This is a team that's won big races, 6 Crown Jewel victories, multiple, like I said, multiple championships, 69 wins.
Yeah, this is the sort of thing that we'll, in like 6 or 7 years, we'll see a lot of like documentary style videos on YouTube by people who will look at the results and act like they figured something out. But I don't think you can do that with something like this. The downfall of SHR is kind of unprecedented. Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
So, behind the scenes for folks, we here at Track and Turf are trying to make new content strategies. And one video we wanted to make this year was kind of talking about how SHR had their downturn and how it looked like in the last month or so they're on the up again. Don't know if we're gonna make that video now, but when you look at the history, there are nexus points, right, for this team. In the last, let's say, since their last year with Chevrolet through now. There are very clear points that you can think of. Obviously, the move to Ford is one of the bigger ones. You can look at Kurt Busch leaving. You can look at the upheaval with Cole Custer being booted from the ride and throwing Ryan Preece in there.
Moving to the next-gen car in general.
Yeah. Can look at Kevin Harvick's struggles in his last 3 seasons, and struggles for Kevin Harvick is definitely a lot different than the struggles for the rest of the team, which struggled mightily. So it's kind of, like Davey said, it's very hard to pinpoint, and someone's going to try to say that it was the switch to Ford, it was this guy leaving. It's not. It's a summation of all the parts.
Yep. That's exactly it.
So, losing Anheuser-Busch this offseason, losing Kevin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because even when Kevin Harvick was still winning a lot of races, he was kind of the only one doing it. And I think that was maybe some of the early warning signs. Like, Kevin Harvick was the only fast SHR car, and a lot of people kind of attributed that to the drivers at SHR not really being up to snuff. And I think we kind of finally have our proof now that wasn't true, more or less.
Well, look at 2018, right?
Right.
That was that year they were, I think Clint won 2 races, Almirola won. They had the 4 car.
Kurt Busch won a race, yeah, or won a couple races, I think.
Yeah, Harvick won a couple, And,
Harvick won a lot.
Well, yeah.
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 I was gonna say, like, the thing that immediately just kind of popped back into my head that I was thinking about was I made that Haters Guide video in 2020 about the playoffs, and I talked about all 4 SHR cars in that video. Like, I think that's the only team I did talk about all 4 cars. And, like, my comments that I was making, and obviously it's being tongue-in-cheek, I was like, when are you guys going to find another driver on the caliber of Kevin Harvick? Like, he's the only guy doing anything. Like, and I kind of was very critical of Almirola and Boyer for just kind of, like, not phoning it in, but, like, not even being anywhere near the level of Kevin Harvick. And it's kind of, it's interesting to go back and look at that with the, like, with hindsight and be like, Kevin Harvick was, and Rodney Childers were propping up a team that was, like, fringe top 10 at best at the time.
Right.
And I think that covered up, Kevin Harvick's greatness covered up a lot of what the team was going through in the downwards slide that they had over the last few years. So it reminds me a lot of Roush before RFK or before Keselowski came in. So.
Yeah. And Carl Edwards still making things happen, injecting a little bit of complacency in everyone else because Roush can still win, and then
Carl leaves.
Kind of left and no, they can't. They can't still win.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the team performs throughout the rest of the year and all that. But just thinking about a lot of folks with very uncertain futures, outside of the names that you know.
Thinking about them.
Yep. Our last little bit of from the shop, and then we'll go to hot laps, which we don't have a sound for because that's usually what we start the show with. Yeah. Iowa Speedway was repaved in the corners in really random spots. Christopher Bell had some comments today that were kind of interesting. Pretty much he said that they might have ruined the racetrack.
Just in time for the first Cup date.
Yeah, of course. I'm driving out there in 2 weeks, so I'm hoping it's not ruined. For my own sanity and for everyone else's at home. But do we take anything from a tire test? Should we take anything from a tire test? Because drivers at the North Wilkesboro test said the race was going to suck, and the All-Star race, Logano led all those laps, but it wasn't terrible, right?
It was pretty bad. I don't know about that one.
Practice on Friday was fun, though.
We may have done an entire podcast about how the All-Star race
don't worry about it. That one, actually, one of their more viewed podcasts this year, so thank you, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got some I think it was the name.
Probably.
That was me, so that's why I'm saying that was the name. I don't know, man. There's so much that's going to change from now to that race day as far as, by the time we get to the race, there's going to be rubber laid on the track, and, the temperature's going to be different, and track, like air and track temp's going to be different. Day to night's that's going to change a lot.
Or evening to night.
There's just, and honestly, to your point, like, when like after practice for North Wilkesboro for the All-Star race, it kind of looked like it was going to be pretty good, and then we got to the race day and it was bad.
The teams had figured it out.
But I didn't hear exactly what his comments were. Obviously, a repave always comes with some form of challenges for stock cars, especially these stock cars. It's going to be a shame if it kind of ruins Iowa's triumphant return, but it sold out. It was like the second race to sell out after the Daytona 500 this year, so I think they'll be fine. If the race sucks, it can't be worse than any of the other short tracks that we've done.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right.
Yeah.
Zoom. Let's go to hot laps then. Joseph Newgarden makes a last lap pass after Pato O'Ward made a last lap pass on him.
Monster move.
To win the Indianapolis 500 for the second year in a row. First driver to do that since Elio Castroneves in 1999 and 2000, or 2000, 2001. I'm not sure. First driver to do it since Elio, though. What did we think of the race? Obviously, the rain sucked.
Rain sucked.
We'll get to the other part of it later. Next.
It was that, man. What a diabolically chaotic Indy 500, and
wrecking on lap one.
That's really, listen. I was floating in a lake for the first half of the race, so I can't comment on it. But I saw the replays and I watched the second half. It was an absurd race, and then, like I was saying earlier, Justin Newgarden with a monster pass around the outside to take the win. I was rooting for Pato. I was rooting for Rossi, but Joseph Newgarden earned it because that was one of the more ballsy Indy passes I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Pain. That's all I have to say. Not to take anything away from Joseph Newgarden, phenomenal. But it was, oh god, I wanted that one for Pato so much.
I think I didn't want to go down this road, but watching Pato's reaction tells you everything you need to know about how important this race is and what it means to these drivers, right? Kudos to NBC as always for how they present the Indianapolis 500 and how they make it feel like a spectacle and they show it for the spectacle that it is. Could you imagine if they had some other big races on the calendar? But God bless it, Joseph Newgarden. That was crazy to make that pass. I didn't think he had it in him. I don't think Pato thought he had it in him.
Honestly, I thought they were wrecking. I thought they were both seeing the turn 3 wall.
Yeah.
Cool seeing him go up into the stands again after the race. Climbing out of the car and going up into the stands, not like, not like that.
So the hop over the fence when he was like into the crowd already, super clean, very impressive. His hop back over, not great. Thought he blew out his knee, and then he accidentally knocked over Cameron after that. So the start of the celebration was much more graceful than the ending of it.
Hell, he was probably tired at the end of it, though.
I think the problem was people were ready for it this year, so he didn't get as far into the crowd before everyone was swarming him. Where last year he was way up there, right? He got into the crowd and stuff.
You could definitely see the adrenaline wear off in real time. Though,
yes.
He was like, oh, God, I got to hop back over the fence.
Yeah. He had to sit there for a second, too, before climbing back through the gate. But, yeah, I mean, just, again, the spectacle of the Indianapolis 500 is not beaten by anything in the world. And, yeah. Newgarden also went on Pat McAfee's show and said that he and all the IndyCar guys could go run F1. To no one's amazement, the F1 fans are fuming
Good.
Cope and see.
I love
Wait,
how
I have a
much-
soundbite that of F1 fans right now. They're like,
The best comments are the ones that says, "Oh, he'll have to make right turns here." It's like, have you not? I guess you don't know what IndyCar is. So literally, that's pretty much 75% of what they do, to no one's pleasure.
no,
I
but don't
love
you
how-
understand? Watching Charles Leclerc lead a parade around Monaco was the most exciting part of this weekend, you guys. It was the best part.
I love how openly we hate Formula One fans. I really appreciate it about us.
Dude, I've really grown to just like not like F1 at all. Like, I'm pumped for Charles Leclerc. That's awesome. But like, come on.
I just can't care about it, man. I
Let's
turned it
stop
on the
acting
TV,
like that's a good race.
and I'm like, I mean, they wrecked on lap 1. They're supposed to be the 20 best drivers in the field, and we're wrecking on lap 1. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Now, the IndyCar race also, there was a wreck on lap 1, but
Yeah.
they also don't say that they're the 33 best drivers in the world.
Yeah.
Or as openly and brazenly, let's say. The guy that, in my opinion and a lot of people's opinions, right now is the best goddamn race car driver on planet Earth, Kyle Larson, was running the double. And then it rained.
And then God himself said no.
Kyle Larson finally got his karma for the incident.
Man, he had a very emotional Twitter post on Monday.
Yeah.
I think I've been pretty open about saying I'm not a Kyle Larson fan. I'm not a Kyle Larson hater. I just don't like that he wins all the time. But man, if I wasn't pumped to watch him run that race, if you weren't pumped to watch him run that race as a motorsports fan, akin to when Alonso did it a few years ago, akin to when Kurt Busch was doing it, Tony Stewart, Robbie Gore, like just John Andretti, right? Any guy that is trying a feat that is outside of their comfort zone. Mm-hmm. Man, oh man. You have to feel absolutely gutted for him for not getting the opportunity to run both races, one. For the mistake he made, two. And I don't know. It was just disappointing, man. I don't know.
I'm glad. I was gonna say, I'm glad you mentioned that because, like, part of me thought it was maybe just my bias because I am a Kyle Larson fan, but like, it makes me happy that I'm not the only person who was annoyed that there were people celebrating that it went poorly. Like,
there were?
Yeah, I saw multiple people who were like relishing in the fact that I didn't even get to step in the car in Charlotte. Like, what the hell, dude?
Yeah, there are a lot of people who are like, "That's the funniest thing ever." And
It's like I'll save my rant because it delves into more stuff. But it was like, this is somebody at like the peak of his power, stepping out of his comfort zone to run the greatest race in the world, and you guys can't find a way to be excited about it. Like, it's so weird.
Well, those are the people that don't know how to step out of their comfort zones. So
probably true. I'll poke fun. I'll poke fun. Like, oh, it's the worst double ever. But like, obviously, what a disappointment, just in general. Like, not that this is the most important part, because obviously Kyle Larson, he's like, if I were in his position, I'd honestly be distraught. What a disappointment for race fans everywhere. If you are not disappointed for Kyle Larson, in how his double went, I really don't know what to tell you, because I don't know about you guys, but there are a lot of IndyCar drivers I like. I'm a fan of some of those. I'm a fan of Alexander Rossi. But every time I looked at the scorebug when I was watching the Indy 500, Kyle Larson's name was the first one I looked for. And knowing that, especially knowing that he stayed in Indy for the race, like that was what he decided was his priority at that time. I was so glad to hear that. And honestly, like obviously Kyle Larson has a ton of my respect, but earned a lot more of it then. Because I think he had to be the company man and say things like, "Oh, NASCAR's the priority." Like I had the NASCAR the stock car is my priority. That's the day job. Like I know he had to say that a lot leading up, and he did. But when it came down to it, and it was on the day, and he had to make the choice, he chose to stay in Indy. I honestly, he might have earned a fan. Like, what a cool decision to make, and it's just a shame that it overall impacted his double in a negative way. And I hope he doesn't next year, because goddamn, he's gonna absolutely kill it.
Yeah, I mean, lost in all this, he ran top 10 basically all day until a speeding penalty on his last stop.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not like he just showed up as a tourist. Like, Kyle Larson was in it. Led laps. So, just a bummer, yeah.
Yeah,
So.
Obviously there's a lot of talk about waivers and all the like, and I've seen people like, what, Hendrick didn't even file a waiver? They thought NASCAR would just give it to them? No, one. Two, I don't think they have to ask for it this week. You know?
Yeah, and I don't see a single reason why they wouldn't get one.
Well,
'cause, like,
here's the other thing. It doesn't matter. Okay, this is what people don't understand. Kyle Larson, if he doesn't get a waiver, he is ineligible for the Drivers' Championship. Guess what? Drivers' Championship, it gets you the TV exposure, but it doesn't actually pay you any actual freaking money.
Well, no,
The
he
money-
can still make it on points.
No,
That's the stipulation.
Mm-mm.
Is it really?
Yeah, you have to run all the races.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. At the end of the day, the owner's points are what pays the money from NASCAR.
Yeah.
So even if Hendrick could be going with the assumption, well, NASCAR's not going to give us a waiver because he didn't start the race. He didn't make an attempt, whatever. And they might just be like, who cares? Because guess who pays for that 5 car? Rick Hendrick.
Rick Hendrick.
Yeah.
Guess who paid for the 17 car in Indy?
Mr. Rick Hendrick.
So, there are other partners, but the publicity that Kyle Larson and Hendrick Motorsports was able to drum up from this attempt at the double. They didn't even run the double. They didn't even run the damn thing.
Yeah.
I think will outweigh any repercussions there, and Kyle Larson's popular enough where they will cover, kind of like what they did with Chase a few years ago, where he was out of the owner's points, but he was in the Drivers' Championship like he was last year. I think they'll be fine. So that's just something to think about. Drivers' points don't actually pay anything. Owners' points do.
And I'm willing to bet Kyle Larson would give away his waiver if it meant he got to run the double. So I don't think...
Yeah.
If he was really concerned about getting the waiver, he probably would have flown to Charlotte early.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah, I would still be surprised if he doesn't get one.
Yeah,
If
agreed.
you're gonna make
Yeah.
because technically he did attempt both races, so Mother Nature got in the way. So
He qualified the car, right?
yeah. So I think it would be, and I'm not one to advocate for special treatment, but I think NASCAR would be insane to deny him of a playoff waiver because of this.
Oh yeah.
Like, especially when, even if you like what we always talk about, bringing in new fans, like Kyle Larson running this double is such a huge story, and then to deny that guy a shot at the championship after there might be some IndyCar fans out there be like, this Kyle Larson guy's pretty good, I'll go see what he does every week.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see. But yeah, like you said, Joe, like, even if he doesn't get it, I don't really think it matters that much.
No, it doesn't matter at the end of the day.
And
Christopher
what is
Bell.
the least important story of the weekend?
Christopher Bell won the Coke 600. Ray Shorten won for humidity.
Oh man.
What a wet fart of a finish to this week.
What a wet fart of it, like a day. Because I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but once I knew Larson wasn't making the 600, the day lost a little bit for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was still glued to my chair for the Indy 500 because I will be till I'm dead. You know.
Such a good finish, too. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But man, I could not have cared less about the Coke 600.
Well, and I cared about it, but man, it was a bummer given the circumstances, and you knew you were up against the rain.
Yeah.
Like there was basically no chance they were going to be able to not have a rain delay that night.
Yep. And it got humid for some reason, somehow. Whatever that
Somewhere
was
in the
about.
southeast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't, I saw like, oh, well, they didn't have all the air tightens. Ah, well, the track looked dry, but it wasn't actually dry. Oh, we got to think about safety. Oh, we don't want to be racing until 3 a.m. It's not good for the teams. It's like,
Just race on Monday.
That's not good for the teams either, because then they got to pay Holiday. I don't know.
No! How will Hendrick Motorsports and Joe Gibbs Racing ever be able to afford that? It's just like,
Yeah, I know, but
It's a bummer. It's a bummer.
yeah, it was dumb too because I was watching it when I was in VC with some of my like non-racing friends, and I like tabbed out of it while I was under rain delay. I was like, okay, and I was just like checking back occasionally, and then I checked back like an hour later, and I was like, oh, it's over.
They were showing Kyle Larson's helicopter as the caution graphic came up.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, they threw a caution for Kyle Larson. That's crazy.
I did think the same thing too. I was like, "Are you serious right now?" Like even as a Kyle Larson,
There's a
fan,
Dale
I was
Jr.
like, "There's
debris
no way
caution
that
all
you're
over
doing this."
again.
Yeah, and then they're like, "Oh, it's raining," and it's like perfect. And like, there's radio clips of, oh my god, I'm trying to blank on his crew chief's name right now.
Cliff Daniels.
Cliff Daniels, and he's like, "This is perfect. You know, obviously we're gonna lose track position, but we're not gonna lose any time." And then it was like, "Oh, it's over." Sorry, Kyle.
Yeah.
So. Although I will say again, my bias as a fan showing. Props to Justin Allgaier.
Oh,
Really
yeah.
good run.
He did
with
good.
little to no practice.
Fantastic
so.
run.
Unfortunate that they technically pulled him out of the car before the red flag.
Yeah.
Did they?
Yeah, he got sent to the back. The 5 team got last, like got tail end points.
Did they? The results still show him as 13th.
Really?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't think
On
they
the
did.
night they showed him at the back.
Maybe that was just like unofficial because it was like maybe it hadn't been fully declared yet. Because I'll double check again. It might just be J-Ski. But
I looked at it because I remember hearing it that night, and I looked and I was like, oh my god, holy crap, they're right.
yeah,
And I remember telling Joey and showing him,
Oh, poor
or
Joey.
at least telling him.
Poor Joey.
Poor Joey. Joey paid $1 a lap at the 600 and didn't even get to see Kyle Larson drive.
it looks like they reverted it back to give Allgaier 13th again.
Yeah,
so.
NASCAR website has him as
Yeah.
13th.
I guess that would make sense.
Yeah,
'Cause
I
they
would imagine
probably-
they probably had them marked like that because they were doing the driver change, and then they
were
called the race.
Yeah,
Yeah, and updated it later. So.
yeah, they were probably anticipating a restart, much like everyone else was.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's good
So.
to know.
Did anything else really happen in this? I mean, you had William Byron's like ridiculous 3-wide pass. Like, it's not that it was a bad race. It was just it's the end of a long day of
It was
racing. and you
the
kind
word.
of
It was
forget.
just the way it was. Like Davey said, it was a wet fart, right? Like
Yeah.
it just it.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how. It was like good food that caused the wet farts. Is the thing. It was like
Yeah.
Yeah.
you had a really nice meal, and then it was like a wet fart came out. I was like, oh man, I kind of put a damper on my dinner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now I need a diaper.
Oh well. Okay.
Chase Elliott won the Xfinity race.
I
How was the
saw
Xfinity
it.
race?
It
was
was
a good
fine.
race.
It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't crazy. It wasn't amazing. The Austin Hill thing was funny though.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you
Cole
guys know what
Custer.
was going on while you were there?
What do you mean?
Well, you were there, right?
What do you know? What was going on?
Okay, so I was posting about this in Discord because I was like, I don't know if you guys can see this. He and Sammy Smith had a beef that went for like 10
No,
laps.
I did see that.
Oh yeah, where Austin Hill was just melting down because he couldn't pass Sammy Smith, and he was just like flipping him off down the front straightaway every time, and Sammy did literally nothing to him. He just raced him, and then it got even worse.
They were dooring the shit out of each other in the front stretch one lap, and I was
Yeah.
wondering if anyone was seeing it. I saw your
They
I
were-
think I saw your message actually, and I made sure to add on to it that I saw them
Yeah.
dooring each other.
They were glued on it on the broadcast, and Blaney and Eric Jones were like, I don't know, man. I don't know what's up. Like, I
Blaney
don't
and
see
Eric
Sammy
Jones
Smith
were
doing
so good in
anything.
the booth. By the way,
Oh yeah,
I'm sad I didn't get
we
to
got
hear it.
yeah. Before we get into the Austin Hill thing, the drivers only broadcast was great.
I'm gonna miss him.
Yeah,
I hope-
is that the last one they're doing?
Well, okay, so Fox Xfinity's on CW, right?
Oh, that's
So
right.
I don't know if NASCAR is gonna do a drivers only broadcast because they're like doing the production for all of the Xfinity for CW. So I don't know if CW is gonna hire the talent or NASCAR is or what.
Damn.
I would hope they keep doing drivers only broadcasts because they're the most fun Xfinity broadcasts, right? Like
Oh yeah. Hocevar was a natural on pit road.
Of course.
His pre-race interview with Kyle Busch was so funny. Josh Berry was really good on pit road too.
God, I
yeah,
feel so upset that I missed all that. That sounds so good.
There's a lot of clips on social, so just go watch Carson Hocevar ask Kyle Busch about the Ricky Stenhouse deal. It's so good.
I missed that bit.
Oh my god.
Oh man.
I'm gonna search that up
Okay,
after we're
since
done
neither of
recording.
you guys saw it, he does the whole pre-race interview, and then he's like, "All right, Kyle, I got to do the journo thing. How are you and Ricky? Like, have you guys talked?" And he was like, "I'm just excited for Day." And he was like, "All right, man."
He did not. Hocevar, he did not want to say that. He did not. There's no way.
He
I've
was
heard
literally
stories
like,
of reporters who like have to interview Kyle Busch when he's angry, and they're always like, "No one wants to do that. Like, no one wants to go there."
God.
Oh, it's so good.
But yeah. Let's talk about Austin Hill though.
Cole
Yeah,
Custer
they
throwing the
announced-
thumbs up, getting dumped for a whole straightaway. What a
What?
king!
What did Cole Custer do?
Good question.
So-
But there's
I
no
don't.
point.
I
So
don't
this
actually
is the
know
best
what he
part.
did. Like looking at that, I don't know what he did wrong. Like
This is the best.
I don't know what he
Austin
could have
Hill-
done differently.
Austin Hill ran into Cole Custer 4 times in the span of half a lap, and somehow it was Cole Custer's fault. Because he ran him into the wall off of 4, and then when Custer stayed side by side with him, he ran up into Custer. I guess he thought Custer came down. Their lines converged. I'd put it more on Austin Hill. Then they went into turn 1, and his right front went flat, and he walled both of them. And then after Cole Custer gave him then proceeded to repeatedly rear end him down the back straightaway, so Cole gave him the passive-aggressive thumbs up out the window, and then Austin Hill just dumped him. Like, it was a quote I posted on Twitter, and excuse my French, but if it smells like shit everywhere you go, check your shoes, Austin, because it really does seem like it's every week where he's like, "This guy's racing me like an asshole," and it was like, maybe you're the asshole, Austin. Is there a common denominator in all of this?
I just, I don't know why guys don't want to race. Like that's your job.
It's so weird. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
Again, maybe Cole Custer did something wrong. I didn't see it.
I didn't see it either for what it was worth.
The best part about it too is Cole drove to his pit stall and they were like, "Hey, let's park it." And so he had to back up to get to the garage, which involved him backing up
The
past
$21.
the RCR 21 crew, which he gave them another thumbs up, and it was like the right front tire change. Like usually they'll be subdued from the pit crew, and the guy working on the right front of the car just kind of looked at it and was like, "I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you."
That's awesome.
It's broken, man. I don't know.
Yeah, just all around an embarrassment.
Good on
Fun race.
NASCAR. I think the penalty. I don't know. There's discourse over the penalty. I think the penalty's good. Fine.
Yeah, I don't agree with parking him for a race, like,
Yeah, people
because
wanted
people
that.
were like,
right?
"Remember that time Kyle Busch wrecked Ron Hornaday?" And it was like, all right, context, y'all. A, technically the caution wasn't out yet. B, Kyle Busch wrecked a championship contender for no reason. Like,
See,
in a
both of
series
their
that he...
trucks were
It is-
A-okay.
Yeah, and it was in a series that Kyle wasn't running for the title in.
Can we just tire out? Can we just shelve the discourse about that wreck? It's been over a decade. I'm so sick of anytime anything happens, we go back to that. How many times do we go back to a 14-year-old decision to like justify what is happening now? Almost never, except
Remember-
for that.
Remember this thing that happened when completely different people were running the sport?
Oh my god, dude.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's just so dumb.
I remember.
Yeah.
Pepperidge Farms
And also
members
Chase Elliott
love
won.
Milanos.
Yeah. All right.
Chase Elliott
Chase
won.
Elliott won. Yeah.
They took the white flag, and me and Lauren were like, "Let's get out of here early." We were on the road in like 12 minutes. We walked all the way back, got in the
That
car.
must
We
have
were
been
on the
nice because
road.
all the Chase fans are there, right? So they're like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
they're enjoying him doing his burnouts and stuff.
Oh
and
yeah.
just like,
Oh yeah.
so yeah, I don't need to hear him say thanks.
He
Rick."
was rolling into turn 3, and I looked over at Lauren, and I was like, "All right, let's go. All right, bye Joey, bye Mikey, see you." I don't need to watch that. I've seen him win before.
All right, well,
Bottom split moment of the week.
Bottom
Chase
split.
Elliott win.
no, that's fair. Matt, what's yours?
All right, I'm going on a moto tangent again.
Oh,
Okay.
no.
So my bottom split moment of the week is Fox Raceway in Pala, California. So it has been very controversially the season opener for like 10 years now, and every single rider hates this track. 2 years ago, Dylan Ferrandis, coming into the motocross season as a defending champion, injured his thumb and knocked him out for the whole season. And it was like, oh, okay, the best rider's just gone. So this year, we're coming into the motocross season, and RJ Hampshire, fresh off his 250 Supercross title, is like a heavy favorite. And during press day, which is a day on Friday for riders to get some sight lines and also to just do press stuff. Nobody's riding hard. RJ ran over a rock about the size of a basketball and crashed and broke his wrist and is out for the immediate future. The favorite for the championship, done before the gate has even dropped once. Because apparently nobody's checking the track for basketball-sized rocks. And
What?
But it gets worse.
How?
Later, during the 450 session on press day, people were just walking across the track, and so somebody had to come over the loudspeaker and be like, hey, if you're not part of the track crew, get off the track. There's people on motorcycles going very fast. And so the Supercross has its stuff together pretty well outside the Monster Girl this year. Outdoors is a different story. There's a separate story that I would like to tell from last year, but it's even more of a tangent, so I won't. I'll save it for later. But apparently the flaggers that they hired didn't really know how to do their jobs, because when they heard that message, they thought, oh, I'm not supposed to go out on the track. Which, if you don't know, if somebody crashes on the downside of a jump, you go out there and you stand in the lane where they are with a yellow flag and say, don't kill this guy, please.
Right.
And so on the backside of this small, just not even like a big jump, just like a little roller into a corner, Jerry Robin laid it down. And before he could pick his bike up, Shane McElrath crashed into him. And so the flagger just stood there on the side of the track. And then Christian Craig, fresh off an elbow injury, crashed into him and somehow was okay. And then the only one that's caught on video, there's 3 motorcycles in a pile. And then Garrett Marchbanks, fresh off a thumb injury, floats over it, lands on top of all 3 of their bikes, endos over the bars, re-injures his thumb. He's out for the immediate future. Again, also before the season has even started.
So they were just
What
making.
are you guys doing out there in California?
They were just making
man?
soup at the end of that. Just making motorcycle soup.
The video is one of the funniest things because it's literally a pile of motorcycles and then Garrett Marchbanks piles in. And then just because that wasn't enough of a farce, in the 250 series, Tom Vial, also the other Super 250 champion, got penalized for an off-track excursion, penalized 1 spot in the first moto. And then in the second moto, Hayden Deegan ran off track 3 separate times while in the lead and never once lifted a single time and did not get a penalty for it. And I'm not one to be conspiratorial minded. And I'm not going to say that they favor Hayden Deegan because they've penalized the hell out of him this year for being a punk ass. But he did go 1-1 at his home track in his hometown, and they were not going to take the win away from him because of that. So now you have Race Control was also a farce this weekend. So overall,
Motocross.
great job, Fox Raceway. So
Moto Minute came
Joe, how
early
about
this
you?
week.
On a minute early this week. That's
It's not often it's a bottom split moment. Damn.
yeah,
my bottom split moment of the week goes out to the weather.
Yeah.
Boo.
Boo, rain, boo. The same storm twice.
Yeah, the damn storm. So
Too
we were out
late.
there
It
making
was-
s'mores, and it started
was-
storming on us.
It was either, you can look at it 2 ways. It was either too late to Indy and too early to Charlotte, or it was too early to Indy and too late to Charlotte. You know,
Whatever that means,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. Well, because if it would have rained in Indy at, like, let's say 4:30, 5 o'clock, would have been
Yeah.
fine.
Hey, I have an idea. What if it didn't rain at all?
Well, okay. Davey, what's your Road to Pro moment of the week?
I spent all Sunday floating on a lake with friend of the show, Joseph Weaver, cooking up some grub. That was my Road to Pro moment.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought we would talk more about the Charlotte trip on this episode.
We could talk about it. My other Road to Pro moment was I shared a track with Denny Hamlin after I dapped him up. That was good. I raced with Denny Hamlin.
Also, big shout out to our boy Alex Seifert for outrunning Denny Hamlin.
Listen,
At
don't
Cobra.
give him the. Don't, we don't need to give him the credit.
I'm
for
gonna
that.
give him the kudos; he deserves it,
No.
and it fits my anti-Denny Hamlin narrative. So,
For what really happened, though, they were doing a thing, and actually it just went up on Jordan Fish's Instagram because Trackhouse was a part of the post or whatever. Trackhouse Motorplex, the go-kart track. They're doing
Better
some.
Half
They're doing some
Dash.
promotional filming for the Better Half Dash. Denny Hamlin was there helping coach her. They had some Dirty Mo guys filming, and they had mics on and stuff like that. And so he was in the back for most of the race, sort of just doing a little bit of lead follow. And then on the last lap, like he just tried to rip off one, and he passed like 5 guys to still finish second in the race. That was my worst race of the day, unfortunately. I did not do very well, but it was still cool. Still cool to see that. I really wanted to ask for a picture, but he had his daughter and stuff there, and I didn't want to bother him. But that was pretty cool. Charlotte trip was good. Most of the time, most of the Charlotte trip was just a lot of driving because we were a little bit farther away where we were staying. But like I said, I spent most of Sunday floating in a lake or on a kayak, and that's pretty okay with me. I like that stuff. Joe couldn't believe that I didn't watch the entire Indy 500, flag to flag.
That's correct.
Is it my turn now?
Yep.
Yeah, it's your turn.
My Road to Pro moment is our boy Dewey Schramm.
Oh, my goodness.
Suffered a devastating injury playing Foursquare.
Listen.
You know, we don't talk enough about how dangerous of a game it is, like, because you never know what's going to happen when you step into the square, man.
Davey, can you please explain how someone always gets hurt playing Foursquare on these strips every year?
I'll spell it out for you, and I have to mark down this time because everyone in the league's a fucking nerd and they don't go outside. So when they fall, they hurt themselves immediately.
That's it. Mikey was messaging me about that, and I was like, "You guys got to take one out of my book and learn how to tuck and roll."
That's what
when you
they
take
don't
a
know how to
header."
fall. Like I didn't see it, I wasn't there, but I'm sure Dewey fell elbow first. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Foursquare is a man's game, and if you don't respect the square, then it'll reach out and bite you.
A couple years
Unfortunately,
ago, Steven took off half the skin on his damn face playing it for somehow. Don't get it. I don't get it.
Unfortunately, we have lost one Dewey meme.
He
but
did
we
have
have
to
gained
go to the doctor.
That's true.
We have
He
gained
finally
one.
went to the doctor.
He was out of his element.
He was out of his element. All she had to do is get hurt playing Foursquare, and lo and behold, he actually used that insurance.
We had to give him a reason to go to the doctor.
We had to hurt him.
But yeah, to be serious, he took it well.
He did.
And he had a really good meme where he posted the picture of him in the sling and said, "Call me a dirt guy because I'm straight slinging it."
When he messaged that it was a hairline fracture in his oh my goodness gracious, hairline fracture in his elbow, Weaver sent the gif of the kid saying, "I'm gonna say it, I don't care that you broke your elbow." And that was pretty solid. That was a good one.
Wow.
We have a special group.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
It's a good time.
Yeah.
Well, that's this week's edition of the Fake Racers podcast. I don't know, David, you got any more fun stories to tell before we sign off? As much time as you want.
Tommy, yeah, as much time as I'm willing to edit. Tommy managed to come down as a surprise because he originally wasn't able to make it, and then maybe we peer pressured him, maybe we didn't. Who's to say? We did. But he used his airline miles and came down for a few days. Not as long as he was going to come down for before. And but he came down. We kept it a secret, and we kind of like as we met up with people or as people came on Sunday, he was just there, and they had to clock it. Some people walked right past him a couple times before they clocked it. It was a good time.
So awesome.
Jeg
Just
was
like, what's up, guys? Hey, Tommy. Wait a second.
that was basically what Jeg did.
Oh my
He
God.
walked in and out. He was in and out of the door because they were like bringing in like food and stuff. And the third time he came in, he was like, "Wait, what are you doing here?"
Oh my gosh, that's so good.
Man. It was a good time. Like I said,
Yeah.
anytime, go rent a lake house with your friends.
Sounds like
It is a fun
It's
time.
good fun.
Okay. Well, that's this
think
week's
that's it.
edition of the Fake Racers podcast, folks. Make sure if you haven't already, drop a like, subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube on Track and Turf, or follow the podcast on your favorite podcast platforms. Programming notes. I won't be here the next 2 weeks, if not 3. Most likely only 2. So Davey will be steering the ship. He's doing a great job on the audio version, so should not see any drops there. And I believe Tommy will be the special guest co-host in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, the video version might suck, fellas. I don't know.
Maybe there won't be a video version. Who knows?
We'll figure it out.
I'm lazy and I'm busy. I'm okay with not doing a video version for 2 weeks.
You'd still have to like upload the audio with like a blank screen. With,
I can do that.
thumbnail
I can
or
do that.
something. So
I can do that.
no video the next 2 weeks. Let's go ahead and let's just confirm that.
Sorry,
Yeah.
video people.
Well, they'll still get it on YouTube.
They will.
Yeah.
Or-
We'll put something interesting on screen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What it is, I don't know. We'll figure it out.
We have
It'll
options.
this show if you're an IndyCar fan, you'll like the next couple weeks too. So
Yep.
it'll be good. It'll be
I have to
good.
pay attention to IndyCar this weekend because
Yeah.
Tommy's coming.
IndyCar is at Detroit this week.
Yep.
Driving around the Renson. Cup Series and Truck Series are at Gateway, and then the Xfinity Series is on their Hell Tour as they go to Portland and then Sonoma, and then Iowa, and then New Hampshire.
What
I
a
hope you like
few
flat
weeks.
corners.
Damn.
Banking is for chumps.
But again, folks, can't thank you enough for watching, for listening, for however you support us here on the Fake Racers podcast. We hope you tune in next week. We hope you enjoyed. Leave comments, disagree with us down below, and we'll see you guys next time right here on the Fake Racers podcast.
Goodbye.